Hello, I'm back with this video about feedback for the questionnaire that I've sent you and the pre-course survey. And I'm happy to report to you that uh, I've got a number of you have actually participated in that, and I'm thankful for that as well, because some of you have been really honest and brutally honest. You've given me a critical and analytical response about how this course sounds to you based on that little video and what kind of things you expect from this course. So it's really good to get that kind of feedback. So as you can see here, and I'm going to show you the result of this little survey in all transparency, because that's how we will be operating. We will be very upfront about, and I'm going to be I'm going to play my part and be as transparent as you guys have been with this survey. Upfront, one admission. These are my second week of being on YouTube. Creating these videos. I've never done that before, so you will see that sort of novice, sort of newbie, sort of somebody with no experience vibe from these videos. The quality of these videos, and that's why I'm trying to keep them as short as possible. But once we go on Zoom, that's more my territory. I've used it for a couple of years. I understand how the nitty-gritties of Zoom classes work. So I'll be a little bit more comfortable. That's something I can promise. Now, in terms of your feedback to these questions, which were something to enhance the quality of these interactions that we will be having going forward, I've asked these questions. So the first two questions are fluffy questions. I will just, and maybe not very useful. We'll just jump to the question number 3. And question number 3 and 4 deals with two important issues that I think very important for me personally. So this one is about clarity, and the fourth question is about speed. In terms of clarity, I'm happy to report to you 73% of you have said that it's clear. 23% further have said it was somewhat clear, which means there are missing points that are not clear because of my style. So we'll go into that kind of detail, sort of granular, point by point detail of an analysis of my presentations on these couple of videos that you would have seen, if we add this one to that as well. And one of you said not so clear. It was not so clear. My explanation was not so clear. And I'll tell you how I teach. My focus would be on this one person who's saying that it was not very clear, not so clear. The explanation was not so clear, which means I'll have to work hard to ensure that I explain things as clear as possible, giving you examples and avoiding the use of difficult terms and words. Obviously, we can't really completely avoid using jargons, which are technical terms. We'll have to use them, but anytime I'm explaining a technical term, I would make sure that I give you enough background, I give you enough explanation, I give you enough examples. Now, that would be much easier if we are on a real-time teaching platform like Zoom, because then you can actually stop me and you can unmute yourself and ask a question, or if you don't like to use audio, you can actually type in your question, your suggestion, or your critique of what I'm saying. And one thing I want to really give you a very clear understanding. I'm somebody who thrives, who feels, who gets motivated with more criticism. More criticism, honest criticism is something, and constructive criticism is something that I really enjoy. So if you feel that there are things that are not going right, in your opinion, please feel free to do that. And you won't be punished. That's something I can promise. So that was about the clarity. I need to work more on clarity because there are 20, about 27%, 26, 27% feel it was not clear enough. So I'll have to work hard on that. In terms of speed of the lecture, I'll show you 96, almost 96% said it was right speed. So about, let me just, so speed, in terms of speed, sorry, I think 73% here again tells me that it was the right speed. 23% felt it was too fast, and 3%, 1% felt it was too slow. So I have to make sure, I think I would like to err on the side of caution, which is a saying, which means I would prefer to be more careful than to ignore your suggestion, which means I will have to speak slowly. Clearly, there are 6 of you, 23%, and this is a sample of 26 people in total out of, which is fairly good sample. Actually, my population is not so big. All the 4 classes, the total number of students is going to be 100 plus. So 26 is a fairly good sample size, and I will make sure that I don't speak too fast. That would be my takeaway from this. And the question 5 was about participation, class participation. So how comfortable will you be giving your opinion? And therein, I'm finding a majority of you again says you are somewhat comfortable. 6 of you are very comfortable or extremely comfortable. 14 of you are somewhat comfortable. And then 5 of you are not so comfortable, and 1 is not at all comfortable. And as I told you, I would focus on the 6 students at the bottom of this chart, not so comfortable or not at all comfortable. And I'll make sure that we will create an environment, a learning environment in which you are motivated enough to participate in the class discussion. Now, there are 2 ways. If you're using Zoom, there are 2 ways you can participate. One is obviously you can unmute yourself and speak in the mic, and I'll hear that, and we all can hear that conversation. That's one way. The other way could be there is a chat function. You can actually type your questions. So that's the second possibility of your participation. Third possibility could be before the class or after the class, once you've had the class, if you have any questions, comments, or opinions, you can mail them to me. And if there are questions that needs answers, then what I'll do is I'll try to make a YouTube video that covers those points, the questions that are raised by you. And so a kind of an FAQ session, frequently asked questions, sort of a video, we can do that as well. But in order to understand what your questions, I think it doesn't have to be a voice participation. Whatever you're comfortable, we want to ensure that I get to hear your opinion about the class. That's really important. So hopefully we will be able to get to that point where you feel comfortable. That would be our attempt. That would be our goal in this class. Now, in terms of the learning outcome of this course, which is the question number 6, you've given very clearly what you want to learn. And I'm thankful for that. Specifically, I want to point out the second response that you see in this on your screen, which says understanding what is explained and voicing my own opinion. So there are 2 things. One is clearly you want to make sure that you understand what is available, what is offered in the class from the instructor, but at the same time, you also want to ensure that you are able to say whatever you feel like. And I really appreciate that part. And I also understand it becomes harder online because most of us have very little experience to engage online in a formal sort of setting. So one thing I want you to keep in mind, I don't treat it very formally. This medium of interaction that I'm hoping we will be able to achieve, after say 13, 14 sessions, or 12 sessions actually of Zoom, I hope we develop a kind of a very casual interaction on these platforms. So don't really, if you have an opinion of a very busy, sort of very um, sort of formal setting of a class, you can just forget all that. We would remain very casual in our interaction. So I would be happy, whatever way you want to interact with the class, I would be happy to facilitate that. My job, essentially, the way I see it, is that of a facilitator, which means I am supposed to help you to realize your potential as a participant in a class, and whatever we want to learn, you are able to learn that. So that would be, in terms of improvement, the question 7 improvements in the class, it was too premature. I do realize that, and a lot of you have pointed that out as well. So I would be, I take that, and we will revisit this question in future. I will again ask you to give me opinion about what you think could be improved as we move forward. Now, the last 2 questions are specifically about online teaching. So the question 8 was about experience of Zoom, and I'm quite delighted to find 77% of you have used an online learning environment before, or some kind of meeting, some kind of online chatting environment. And 6 of you have never used Zoom or WebEx in that. And like I said earlier, also, my focus would be to ensure these 6 people, these 6 participants, or 23% of our population, they feel comfortable joining in Zoom. So even if you've not used it, my recommendation would be to make an account right now, and when you have time, before we actually start the real sessions, to make an account and log in and play with it. Try to set up meetings with your friends and family. You can make a free account. You don't have to really pay for it. And try to have those chat sessions with your family and friends, and practice with all the things, all the functionalities, all the different things you can do with the app. Play with it and make yourself familiarize, make yourself comfortable with it. That's something that can be done. Even though to join the meeting, the class meetings, you don't actually need to have a login account. You can simply just click on the links that I would be sending you, and at the pre-decided time, and all you need is a password that would be shared with you, and you have to select a login name. I'm repeating again in this video, when you select your login name, please put your first name as a login name, not your family name, and that would help us realizing or recognizing who is joining, who is missing from the class. So that would be my suggestions. In case you, before the start of the class, in case you feel you are not comfortable, please write to me, and I'll make sure that office sends you those videos, the demo videos, FAQ videos about Zoom, and you have some kind of comfort basically before you start. The ninth question was about concerns. in general about online learning. And again, some of the questions are about not using Zoom before, and some other concerns. One of the concern was about whether or not I'll be recording the Zoom sessions. And one of you have suggested their reservation or their dislike for the idea that, I'll be recording these videos. So understanding that, I want to make this announcement. We would not be recording the Zoom session. I completely understand when you say you would not be comfortable with those videos being online later on after the class. I completely respect that, and I would be not recording these video sessions, and they won't be available online. So I would not be recording, and so you can feel free to participate in the class. Now, about the effectiveness of these teaching, one of the suggestions that I've got is that I use some kind of slide PowerPoint presentation. And I want to also tell you that these are YouTube videos wherein the PowerPoint would not be very useful. But once we start talking about the course material, once we start having those 100 minutes plus sessions in real time, I would definitely use PowerPoint slides. That would be in the background, the way you see my, right now you see my browser, but I'll be sharing with you my PowerPoint slides. I would be sharing my browser whenever needed. I would also be sharing with you my whiteboard in which I'll write about the points that we are talking about. So we'll be using all that, because I do understand if you just listen, I think that's not the most effective way to grasp, to understand what is being said by an instructor. It's really important, I think, to engage all our faculties, which includes our eyes, so that we read what is being said. So I'll make sure, unlike my usual slides, I'm working on those slides which have a little bit more sentences, because usually I just have one word on the whole slide. But recognizing that this is a special time wherein the learning would be very different from the usual way, I would have a lot more text on those slides so that you can read it and understand what I'm talking about, right? Giving you a sense of that communication in a sort of written form is equally important. So thank you for that suggestions, and every other suggestions that you've given through this feedback. I think we'll be able to improve the delivery for the time being, but I'm not really going to sit quietly and think everything is taken care of. Rather, we will keep on floating these surveys from time to time, and there'll be a lot of open-ended questions. Now, open-ended questions, which means there are no fixed answers. You can write whatever you feel like, and that would help us stay on top of the game of online learning. I hope you don't lose motivation, like I said earlier. So that would be something we have to really work hard on, and at the end of the whole 14 weeks, I'm also looking forward to having that final session in which we would be making short presentations, or some other assignment that just might be in a particular course. Till then, so in the couple of weeks time, we should be running very smoothly online lectures. I will also be uploading course-specific videos in a couple of days' time, and specific assignments also. I'll emphasize what we are supposed to do. So please check the website in a couple of days, and see you soon then. Bye-bye.